Welcome to Loremen, a podcast about local legends and obscure curiosities from days of yore. I'm Alasdair Beckett-King. I am the one and only, nobody I'd rather be.
And I'm James Shakeshaft. I'm a man, not a boy, which is Chesney Hawk's other song.
And now the story of an unprofitable prophet from Cheshire. For this story, I looked over to the northwest coast of England, because my dad's from Manchester. I thought I'll find a Manchester story, but there aren't really any, because Manchester wasn't there in the past. It just sprung into being fairly recently with all the textile mills and all the sort of, mad for it kind of vibe.
Manchester.
Yes, as I believe it was known when it was created, when this town was founded in the mid-90s. So the best I could do was find a story from Cheshire, which we'll have to do.
Yeah, lovely.
It's the story of Robert Nixon, the Cheshire Prophet. My main source for this is the wonderful Prophecies of Robert Nixon, which was printed about 1822.
Self-published?
No, because it was long dead by then. There's a few Victorian pamphlets were printed in which his place and date of birth vary wildly. So we don't know exactly when he lived, but according to this one, he was born in 1467, which is quite a long time ago.
Yes, I can verify that.
Thanks for checking, James. So the important thing to know about Robert Nixon is that he was an idiot. And that's how he's described in the books, the pamphlets, I should say. The thing is, it's obvious now in the present that he's probably someone with serious learning difficulties. However, what you have to remember is that in the 15th century, that was hilarious, and therefore it was fine to make fun of him for it, as everybody did. So the wonderful Prophecies of Robert Nixon describes him as, and I really like this phrase, being remarkable for a stupidity and an invincible ignorance. I really like the phrase invincible ignorance, because it's almost complimentary, but it is like you could not teach this guy anything. Apparently he had an annoying voice. The pictures show him as being sort of fat and drooling. They've drawn the drool in the picture, and having big googly eyes. But he was a prophet. What was his first prophecy? It was ox-based. Good question, James. It was an ox-based prophecy.
Of course it is.
He was poking an ox, which I understand is part of the general ox business you have to do, but he poked it too hard. He properly gouged the ox, and whoever was in charge came over and said, "You invincibly ignorant fool, stop poking the ox that hard." And he said, "Well, in 3 days' time, you won't even have this ox." And what happened was, in 3 days' time, the Lord of the Manor came down and he claimed that ox and took it away. And everyone went, "Oh, that's just like what Robert Nixon said was going to happen. That's strange." He went on to make a series of bizarre but very parochial, provincial predictions about things that would happen in that exact area of Cheshire. So he got into a barney with the abbot of Vale Royal and said, in an angry tone of voice, "When you, the harrow, come on high, soon a raven's nest will be." Ooh. And the abbot was like, "You bloody what, mate? You're starting something here? What's that about ravens?" But, as we all know, it comments, as is well known, that came true, those words he just said, because the last abbot of Vale Royal, his name was Harrow, and he was put to death during the dissolution of the monasteries by Henry VIII. And the abbey was given to a knight called Holcroft, whose crest was a raven.
Whoa.
So that contains some of the same words as the prophecy.
Yes.
Pretty conclusive. He said Northwich was going to be destroyed by water.
What happened to Northwich?
Nothing. It's still there.
Uh-oh.
I had a gig there, which was tepidly received. Maybe the water was around the ankles, and that was the reason. It actually says Norwich, but he means Northwich, which is the Norwich of Cheshire. Big salt mines, apparently. The whole town is undermined, so at any point the salt mines could collapse.
And it could.
At the time it was being printed by the Victorians, they were saying, which is widely believed to be about to happen. However, it has not yet succumbed. But who knows? Climate change. Mm-hmm. So it could still happen. He said that Peckforton Mill shall be removed to Luddington Hill.
That can't happen.
No. I mean, it had changed the whole nature of the mill. The dynamic of the place.
Did it move?
I don't know.
Okay.
It is not in the list of... the Wikipedia page has a list of one of the ones that are supposed to have come true. One of them is that, quote, "All sorts will have chimneys in their mouths." And the way they formatted it is, it gives the quote and then an example of how that came true. And what it says is, All sorts will have chimneys in their mouths. And that, just cigarettes. No explanation, just cigarettes. So he predicted cigarettes there. So that's pretty good.
Called cigarettes.
Pretty impressively, he predicted the Battle of St. Albans, which is most remarkable because it happened 6 years before he was born. So amazing that he...
Nailed it.
But what he's most known for is, in his lifetime, is the prediction of the victory of Henry VII at the Battle of Bosworth Field, which was in 1485, after he was born, so even more of a challenge. During the battle, he wasn't there, he was back in Cheshire. He was seen to shout out, "Now Richard, now Harry, get over that ditch and you will win the day." And he predicted the victory of Henry VII over Rich III. And then spent the rest of the week running around saying that he was going to be taken to the king and starved to death. And everyone thought, no, you aren't. And they're all laughing at him as usual. But then, word of his prediction reached Henry VII, and he sent a messenger out. The messenger came, and he picked up Robert Nixon, and he took him away. And Robert Nixon put up a great fight, because he didn't want to be starved to death, but he was dragged off to see the king. And Henry VII, who was a pretty canny guy, off a big high from the Battle of Bosworth Field, pretty much in his pomp, thought, well, this is quite interesting, but I'm going to test this kid. And he hid a valuable ring somewhere in the castle. And he got Richard Nixon. No, he didn't get Richard Nixon. I'm not looking for your rings. He got Robert Nixon. He challenged Nixon to find the ring, and Nixon repeated an old proverb, "He who hideth can find." And Henry VII went, I get it. I get what you're saying. You're a genius. You can stay in my castle forever.
He who smelt it dealt it.
Fine old proverb. Of course, Robert Nixon didn't want to stay in the castle forever. He was terrified he was going to be starved to death.
Yeah.
And so the king said, I tell you what, you can live in the kitchens and stay in the kitchens the whole time, and I'll have this officer of the castle stay with you at all times to make sure you don't get starved. Now, the people of the kitchens were not that keen on having Nixon in the kitchens because, I've prepared a pun here, so I hope you're ready for this. He was not a cook. Like crook. I am not you see what I did? I'm not a crook, I'm not a cook. So what's he doing in the kitchens? With the other
spoiling
cooks?
the broth.
Exactly.
Dribbling in the broth.
They really picked on him, the other servants and cooks, who I can't understand why they wouldn't have wanted this famously stupid, drooling, extremely annoyingly voiced idiot in the kitchens, but they didn't. And so they were always bullying him. And so what the officer did one day was to just give him a little bit of a break. He just locked him in the cellar, locked him gently in the cellar, and then got a message from the king saying he had to come away, and went away for 3 days, and Robert Nixon starved to death in the cellar. That's the end of the story. He was right.
Whoa.
Starved to death in the cellar.
Whoa.
And also he predicted cigarettes. So that's the end of the story.
Wow. Oh, that's really sad.
What a sad, stupid story of a man saying some nonsense.
But it's like, I remember a tale that made me very sad was the guy on when they first invented submarines, there was this captain fella. He was in the Navy, and he was really good at being a captain in the Navy, but he was like, these submarines are rubbish. That's never going to work. You'll never get me on one. And then basically, because he was such a good captain, they were like, you have to be the captain of this first submarine.
It's like the start of a film. I'm out. I'm never going to go on a submarine. You have to be the captain of this submarine.
Oh, and and it breached and drowned. Everyone drowned.
Oh.
And I bet he was thinking, I bloody told you.
It would be annoying, but also a little bit sort of like, I knew it.
I don't want to say I told you so, because I'm drowning.
It's hard to drown in a smug way, but I bet he managed it.
So you got any scores? Got any categories?
Categories, right. So we didn't discuss that abbreviation beforehand.
Cats, that's pretty standard, isn't it? That's a standard abrev.
My first category for you in the scores is naming.
Okay.
I pointed at you overly confidently. Robert Nixon.
Yes.
Good name. Sounds a bit like Richard Nixon. I've called him Richard Nixon several times that we've definitely edited out of the podcast.
Yeah. Robert Nixon, that's a good name.
The Cheshire Prophet.
That's a
it
funny
sounds
name.
It sounds like a publication run by an elderly woman.
You think it's a real newspaper, then you know it's mostly made up of adverts for the Alpha Group.
Hey, why don't you pop around to one of our events?
Hey, we got coffee. Yeah, I've got coffee. I don't have to listen to Jesus, Bear Grylls. Bear Grylls advertises Alpha Group.
Well, yeah, I was never a fan of Bear Grylls in the first place.
No, he's a real wrong un.
If you're a really posh person, imagine making a TV program about how you could just live by eating twigs. Like, you're rich.
Just buy some
Why
twigs.
eat twigs? Get them delivered.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of beautifully named pamphlets, like the Wonderful Prophecies of Robert Nixon.
Yep.
Well, let me give you the full title of that, because it's got a load of incidental details that I quite
good.
like.
I like a long title. Has it got an or in there?
You better believe it's got an or.
Yes.
I think it's got an and. All right, it doesn't have an or in it. I was wrong. Should I say it in different volumes based on how large the font is? Because every part of it is printed at a different size. So it's The Wonderful Prophecies of Robert Nixon, the celebrated Cheshire Prophet, from Lady Cowper's correct copy, with an account of life and death of the author. London.
Yeah.
Sixpence.
They always whisper the price, don't they?
Yeah.
And then the terms.
Sixpence.
Terms and conditions. I like that that's the correct. I'm glad that's from the correct copy.
Yeah, from Lady Cowper's correct.
Not the inaccurate one. That's definitely, that alone as a name has given you 5 out of 5. That's a great name for a pamphlet.
Thank you.
That's, I guess, from the days when they couldn't have pictures on their pamphlets, so they had to fill it up with words.
Yeah, it's probably too expensive to have too many pictures, so they just did all the letters different sizes.
Like a ransom note.
Okay, 5 out of 5. So my next category is, I've just written soups, but it means supernatural. I've done an abbreviation.
Good lad. Glad. That's a portmanteau or panto. Yeah, supernatural is not very, is it?
Cigarettes.
Yeah.
Northwich. Here's what's supernatural about it. How come Northwich isn't under water yet? What have they done? What enchantments have they woven in the town of Northwich?
That was a bad point poorly made. He's,
a raven's nest will be.
I guess this guy probably babbled quite a lot.
Yes, he
And
was known for
silly
babbling.
voice.
In his annoying voice, yes.
So it's that thing. People are just reading into stuff, I think.
Reading into it.
Yeah.
It's pretty specific. Peckforton Mill shall be removed to Ludlington Hill.
And that didn't happen.
Luddington Hill. Well, I just don't know if it
That
happened.
might not have happened.
You expect me to? How much research do you expect me to do? I'm not going to Luddington Hill to check if there's a mill there.
Is this? It's always been here. Where'd this mill used to be?
He poked an ox, and then 3 days later, vanished.
It was taken away.
It was taken away. Vanished.
I mean, it's a little bit. It's not very scary, though, is it?
He predicted the outcome of a battle between two parties.
It sounded like
with the 50-50 odds.
He gave live commentary.
Yeah.
On a battle. That was quite.
He wasn't there though, so it was quite impressive.
Yeah, that is quite impressive. A lowly 3, because a lot of the stuff. Come on.
Predicted a battle that happened before he was born, aka remembered.
Yeah, he did remember something from school.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take that 3.
We've got no other categories that rely on his superpowers.
Well, my final category, and if you thought that the wordplay involved in Richard Nixon, Robert Nixon, I'm not a cook, I'm not a crook, was good, if you think that was good,
yes,
you're going to be extremely impressed with this.
Okay.
My final category, Nostradamus.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because he predicted things, but also I'm being quite offensive about somebody who obviously had learning difficulties.
His key points is that he could not learn.
Yeah. He was invincibly ignorant. Like, everyone tried to teach him things and they were just...
Facts just bouncing off him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the invincibility music from Mario.
No, I think that was the Sonic music. Mario is...
And then he runs into a cow and like, bling, 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 bling.
I lost my rings, but I know where they are. Because the loser is the person that knows where they are. Shut up, Robert. That's
the correct Mario music.
That's the star music.
So what was I singing then?
I think it was Sonic in general. Like Green Hills level 1. Hey, gamers, write in. I'm sure the gaming / law audience is a massive crossover.
Yeah, there's at least one person that I know.
Hello.
Hi.
I always, by the way, this is another classic James Shakeshaft life hack. When you go to the airport, I actually got this off a friend of mine, but I don't think he listens to the podcast, so I'm going to pretend it's mine.
Nice.
When you go to an airport and you get them travelators going along and you're walking along, I always, because my mate mentioned it, now hear the Mario Star music when I get on that. So I step on it, just walking along normally, but I'm shooting along, and then the boo, 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 boo as I come off. James Shakeshaft life hacks.
I mean, we haven't quite got to the point where it's worthy of a spin-off podcast, but I think it's getting there.
Haven't we?
So, but like, he was wrong, but he was right. You know, he was wrong. A lot of these prophecies weren't correct, but when he was right,
or were just remembrances,
or were just things that had happened in the past described vaguely.
I genuinely the live chat of the battle as it's going on.
Yeah, blow by blow.
That is pretty exciting.
It is, and he predicted his own starvation and then precipitated it by being annoying.
Yeah, and it wasn't done in such a way that like he could. It's like he made that happen.
No.
Yeah, Nostradamus. I'm going to give it 4.
4?
I would have give it 5 because what would have made it sweeter is if he just made loads of predictions and literally none of them happened, but people still talked about it. Not like a sort of reverse Cassandra complex.
He was cursed to be believed while talking absolute gibberish.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to take my 4 and swim off to Northwich.
Now a lost tale from Series 1. The tale there was a pun because these are stories about mermaids famous for their tales. Today, we're venturing to the Peak District.
Ooh.
Yes. My wife is from there. She grew up there till she was like 8. And her mum is from a village mentioned in one of these in one of the tales.
You've edited out.
Yeah.
The adjective.
Yeah, I don't want to
there.
build it up too much because there's a triptych of tales. These are Peak District based mermaids. It's not a coastal area.
I was about to say,
you've raised your eyebrows.
It's not a famously seafaring region. It's more famous for being peaky.
These are 3 mermaids in 3 pools, which are all believed to be linked to the Atlantic Ocean by an underground method. In one in particular, the Mermaid's Pool on Kinder Scout, which is by Hayfield, is apparently particularly acidic and briny.
And so people have sort of thought...
No animal will drink from it.
So this kind of brackish water, maybe it's connected via unknown means to the Atlantic Ocean.
How else are you going to get that?
Seems logical.
Yeah, it's going to be a massive undersea tunnel, which the mermaid swims up.
Yeah.
And there's another one in Rosthene. There's Rosthene Mere. A third pool, Doxy Pool. It's named after the daughter of a notorious highwayman, and Doxy is the most polite way of referring to her. It's an
old-fashioned term for a prostitute, isn't it?
Exactly right. And that's the name of this pool in which lurks possibly the most sinister of the mermaids, but we'll come to her later. So, first of all, Hayfield's Mermaid's Pool. That contains a mermaid.
This is the salty one, right?
They're all salty. They're all spoken of as places that animals won't drink, and there are no fish in them. But they're remote enough that it seems that no one's actually bothered to sort of check. So yes, the Mermaid's Pool at Kinder is at the bottom. There's a waterfall on Kinder called the Downfall.
Nice, if somewhat vague.
I think accurate.
Yeah, but it describes a lot of waterfalls. It doesn't particularly individualise this waterfall.
No.
Also, most falling is downwards.
Good point.
It's very little upfalling.
Well, actually, Kinder Downfall, if you go on YouTube, when it's really windy from a certain direction, it actually blows back.
If anything, that renders the name even less appropriate.
Yeah, what sounded like a good, intense, solid name is plain wrong. This particular mermaid, the Hayfield mermaid, would appear at midnight of Easter Day. Early morning Easter Day.
Right, so just as Easter begins.
Just as Easter begins, this mermaid would appear, and if you saw her, she would grant you eternal life, or maybe kill you. It's a very remote place. It's quite hard to get to, but if you went up there and you looked into the pool at the stroke of midnight, Easter Sunday morning, you would see the mermaid, and it could either be very good or very bad for you. So,
do we have any cases of people being killed or granted eternal life?
Well, there is a guy from Hayfield called Aaron Ashton, who was he was the most famous man in Hayfield. Aaron Ashton died in 1835.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he wasn't granted eternal life.
No, but he was 104 when he died.
Well, that's not bad.
That's not bad for back then as
If I hadn't
well.
been born in the 18th century, yeah.
He was born in 1731, give or take. Yeah, he was one of Hayfield's minor celebrities. This is in quote marks in Westwood and Simpson. He served 30 years in the army. He fought in the American War of Independence for the British. So
Bad luck.
yeah. When he came back to Hayfield after being in the war, he would go up every year, never missed going up to the Mermaid's pool on Easter Eve in hope of seeing the mermaid. But he lived 104, so he might have thought, but from about 88, he might have been thinking, maybe I did see her.
If anything, without wanting to be sceptical on Mermaid 1, the fact that this guy went there every single Easter and never saw the mermaid seems to be a pretty good evidence that the mermaid wasn't there.
What, a 104-year-old man?
A 104-year-old man went there every year and never saw it. So for 100 years, it didn't happen.
Yes. There was a poem written about it.
Oh, fair enough. If there's a poem, it must be true.
And apparently you could get granted riches if you saw the mermaid. But yeah, the downside is the mermaid's so beautiful, you're never able to love. That's Mermaid. Is that Mermaid 1? Oh, they also drowned a witch in that pond.
In the same pond?
In that Mermaid's pond. Jenny Crumb. Jenny Crumb was considered a witch, and in the 1800s, they drowned her in the Mermaid's pond.
In the 1800s? That's a very late witch drowning.
That is pretty late, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me fact check. The fact check.
While you fact check, can I go and get a top of my tea?
Oh, yes. Oh, no, this is bull. Right, okay. I read this research when I was ill, and I took some of the main words from the story and came up with they drowned a witch in the 1800s. Let's find out what really happened. Thanks.
So, a moment ago, James, before you did your fact-checking, you said that a witch called Jenny Crumb was drowned in the 1800s.
Yeah.
What's the story?
I've fact-checked that, and yeah, I've remembered it almost wholesale inaccurately. So, Jenny Crumb, no. Susanna Higgin was this witch. 1760 was the year. And basically, there was this charmed wooden weaving pin that was bewitched, and it caused loads of bad problems in Hayfield in 1760. So everyone was like, well, Jenny, you've bloody bewitched weaving pin in here. They chucked fruit at her. The vicar got involved. He agreed to perform an exorcism on the wooden weaving pin. Held a ceremony full of solemn words. Some of the people swear they saw the witch charm plunge into the mermaid's pool, while others say it flew over a gate. But that was the end of the trouble.
So nobody got drowned in the pond?
No one was drowned in the pond.
But a wooden pin might have got thrown in.
Might have got thrown in it.
Or could have flown over a gate.
Or just, got flung over a gate by a vicar. Mermaid number 2, Rothdene Mere Mermaid. Pretty much standard, bottomless lake, linked to the Irish Sea by an underground channel. And this mermaid comes up on Easter Day and rings a sunken bell.
But Easter Day again?
So I think it's the same mermaid, just on her way to work.
She can't be in two places. Oh, right. So
she rings the bell, ding, ding. All right, Aaron.
So they're quite near each other, these two pools.
One's in Cheshire and the other's Peak District. So I guess that's the kind of the route that this imagined underground tunnel takes. Okay, so this is called Black Mere. If you were to gaze long enough on the shimmering surface, then this second mermaid will rise from the depths, combing her hair. And there's a little rhyme about this.
Another supporting poem.
Yes. She calls on you to greet her, combing her dripping crown. And if you go to meet her, she ups and drags you down. So light-hearted death by drowning there. It's kind of like a more attractive version of those 80s or 70s. Don't go near the dark water. I think it was voiced by Donald Pleasance, and it was like a shadowy figure of death. It's always on them clip shows like
trying to scare kids away from
standing water.
Yeah, I'm not sure beautiful ladies is the way to scare people away from places.
Well, that's what they did in the past. That's Mermaid 2. It's not got much going for it.
Well, let's hear Mermaid 3.
We come to Doxy Pool. Boom. Sexual name. This mermaid's called Ginny Greenteeth.
Nice.
And she, if you go in the pool, if you foolishly swim in this pool, she will come at you. She will rise from the reeds, growing from the pool to a height of 25 or 35 feet, and she will eat you unless you run away, which is what happened to one person.
Wait. One person ran away or was eaten?
Ran away. Mrs. Pettit survived the encounter with Jenny Greenteeth because she ran. So it's not as scary. She seems pretty limited in her movements for a 25/35 foot weedy woman. Jenny Greenteeth.
So it's a good name. Very frightening.
So them's the mermaids. Do you want to know anything more about saltwater and freshwater mermaids? There is a difference.
Yeah, I do want to know more about salt, because I was going to say mer means sea, so these are sort of mere maids, like lake maids rather than mermaids.
Yes, even though this water is meant to be linked to the Atlantic, these are considered to be freshwater mermaids.
Well, they're inland.
Are not necessarily fish-tailed, they're more likely to be just attractive women who will drown you.
Right.
Shall we score?
Let's do the scores.
These 3 mermaids. Is it cheating to have 3?
No, because they're connected. The tunnels all connect, presumably underground.
Well, yeah.
I mean, we'd be mad to assume that didn't definitely happen.
Yes, good. Phew. That's hopefully triple my scores. Okay, supernatural.
Supernatural, it's got to be high. I mean, mermaids they're supernatural beings, aren't they?
Well...
And we've got 3 of them here.
These seem to be trying to be explained away in a quasi-scientific fashion.
Oh, so are these just a species unknown to science?
This seems more... I believe the term is cryptozoology nonsense. This particular type of nonsense. So... Because, like, the fact that they have a tunnel from the sea, that's how... So it's like, that's how they get around. It's not like they just appear out of nowhere. The bestowing of eternal life, I mean, that's as close to supernatural as you get.
It's pretty supernatural, but doesn't happen at any point in any of the stories. So what I was ready to slap down a 5 stars on that. But since it's cryptozoology, I'm going to edge it down to 4.
Naming. Come on.
Naming. Jenny Greenteeth.
Jenny Greenteeth.
That's good.
The Mermaid's Pool.
Is it called the Mermaid's Pool?
Yeah, that's the other one. But that's on. But that is on Kinder,
which is the paedophile version of Tinder.
No, no, it's from the old word meaning thing or.
You can't just name a place thing.
Or as in like a monster, like a being.
Oh, right.
An unknown being. So it could be that Kinder.
Like the white in Isle of Wight.
Is it?
White? I think white means a living thing.
Ah, like a something.
A thing. Yeah, a being.
So this Kinder could refer to this mermaid. Or there's a couple of other beasts. There was the milking hillock ghost. Which would rattle chains, and Peggy with a lantern.
Milking Hillock is way ahead of Peggy with a lantern. But
I like Peggy with a lantern.
Your last-minute introduction of even more interestingly named monsters has clearly made this a 5. It's 5 for names, definitely.
Yes!
Even though you threw a ringer in there with Ernest, you just chop it up with some more weird ghosts.
Just say some silly
Jimmy
names.
the Nose. Yeah. No-headed Bobby.
Martin the Ghost. I think there was another one. There's another one. These are just...
We've already scored.
I know.
I mean, you're doing well. There's no need to throw more...
These are other mermaids that have just got some cool names. Right, so there's a Ginny Greenteeth. I think there's multiple Ginny or Jenny Greenteeths around the country.
Or the same one working on shifts.
Going through these underground flumes, basically.
Yeah.
Peg Powler had green tresses and insatiable lust for human life. Grindylow, and the one from Yorkshire and Shropshire is Nellie Long Arms.
Nellie Long Arms. Imagine her long arms.
They're so long.
You'd see her standing in the water and you think it's a girl standing in the water, and then the long arms rise out of the water.
I think she can't get me. I'm well over here. Like, oh no, they're really long arms. Lechery was the next one.
Lechery. Well, we do have this. What was his name?
Aaron Ashton.
Aaron Ashton.
A minor celebrity.
A minor celebrity at
104?
104. Who every single year went to try and see a naked lady in a pool. That's real commitment to the craft of perving on women in pools, isn't it?
Well, before you had your internet, your Tinder.
That was the only.
In those days, they wouldn't have even had a railway siding in order to find your thrown away magazine porn.
You had to actually look for it.
In the realm of the supernatural or cryptozoological.
Well, I think Aaron certainly represents a high score for lechery. The mermaids, though, including Doxy.
Yeah, Jenny Greenteeth is from Doxy,
which promises a certain degree of lasciviousness, but actually eats you.
These sisters that are sort of doing it for themselves. In this case,
yeah, to coin a phrase.
Yeah. So because that's kind of the thing of the mermaid, isn't it? It's going like, oh,
the siren.
Have a look at these, and then the man dies. Maybe actually that's quite a.
It's possible that there's a misogynist angle there.
Yeah, maybe there is a reading.
So I would give it a 5 for lechery because I think Aaron's quite a character, but I'm gonna give it a 4 because of possible misogyny.
Yeah, good shout. Then we've cleared that up forever.
I'm dusting my hands.
Yes. Not giving yourself a hand clap, an applause.
No, I was not. I was dusting my hands as if to say, sexism over.
Right, next challenge, next...
Category?
Yeah. Bad science.
Bad science.
/ bad geography.
Extremely questionable geography.
The huge underground tunnel.
The huge underground tunnels that nobody has ever seen and there is no evidence for in the slightest.
No, just that there's no fish in these ponds and animals don't want to drink from them and no one's tested whether they have salt in them.
And these are remote ponds that people only ever really see once a year if they go there deliberately to see. So how people know that animals never drink from them?
Very good point.
There's a lot of poor science.
It's no animal will drink, no fish will swim, and no birds will fly over. And
no birds will fly.
Yeah, that's... Come on. Really? You are all the way up? That column of air all the way up to the stratosphere?
I assume there's an upper limit. Be reasonable. Yeah, it's 5 out of 5 for bad science.
5 out of 5.
There's not a single fact in this story that is supported by any empirical evidence. It's a series of claims about things that never happen or always happen. And there is no evidence that the things that never happen, and there's no evidence that the things that always happen, ever happen. I mean, that sentence did make sense, but I'm so confused in saying it.
Phew.
5 points.
Phew. And now, the deal or no deal category.
Explain the title of that category.
It's the Edmonds factor. It's the reward that the mermaid offers of eternal life, or you will be killed.
It is an old Edmund, yes. The conundrum.
Yeah, it's yeah. What's in the box, Noel?
I don't think they don't tell Noel.
Don't they? Have you heard Noel Edmonds' latest scam?
No, what's Noel Edmonds' latest?
I'm calling it a scam.
Yeah, I was going to say, for legal reasons, Noel Edmonds has never carried out any scams.
But right,
what is his latest game?
He will ring up and offer, presumably amateur, I'm not sure if it's psychology or psychiatry, to your pet.
What?
To your cat, specifically.
When you say he will ring up, is this something you request or something that he does against your will?
Well, he would probably claim that the cat was sent a request out to the cosmos.
He's become a pet counsellor.
Yeah, that's what he does now. He did it live on the radio on Jeremy Vine, I think. One of the Vines.
He's history's greatest monster. 5 stars.
Yes. Ding, 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 ding.
I can't remember what the category was, but I don't like Noel Edmonds, so that's 5 points.
It was the Edmonds factor.
It was the Edmonds factor.
The monstrous.
Do you get killed or do you get eternal life? But like with Noel Edmonds' scams, what you actually get is disappointment, and nothing is delivered in all of these cases. Take that, Edmonds.
Yes. Although that sort of means that Ginny Greenteeth is she's been diminished in my mind because I'm now imagining her looking a little bit more like Mr. Blobby. More likely the reason she couldn't catch that woman is because she fell over into some...
Well, if you did live in a lake, you would have a crinkly bottom, so there is...
Them 3 mermaids, pretty high score in mermaids.
Yeah, high score. Are we done? Is that the end of that?
Yeah. And Noel Edmonds is a murderer.
I mean, there's no evidence that Noel Edmonds is a murderer.
Oh, prove to me he isn't. You've been listening to Loremen. The Loremen are James Shakeshaft
and Alasdair Beckett-King. Please subscribe, rate, review, and recommend to a friend. You can tweet us at LoremenPod or email us at contact@loremenpodcast.com to suggest stories from your area. Do you want to do Hayfield Mermaids, since it's your story?
Oh, yeah. Now a lost tale from Series 1, and there was actually a pun in tale, because it's about mermaids, famous for their tails, with an T-A-I-L. It's too long. Play the music!